It's just gone 19 minutes past 11, and I know you often say a man who needs no introduction, but I'm really going to stick to that this time. And I'm just going to say Ardal O'Hanlon is in the studio, because everyone knows only too well Ardal, don't they?
No, we wouldn't assume anything.
Just putting the fear of God into you there. We were talking to a listener who was pregnant at 17, and you have a 14-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Isn't that scary?
It is very, very scary.
3 years,
indeed.
I think.
But I'm a great man for burying my head in the sand.
And kick things down the road, the Irish approach to everything.
Yes. In fact, you know, I'm going on tour at the moment because she's doing the junior cert. I think it's a good time to be out of the house.
Yeah, you mentioned the Wesley disco as well, Mother of God.
Yeah.
That's for the fear of God into anyone.
Yeah, that's a Dublin institution, a Dublin landmark. I don't know much about it. Again, you know, I don't want to know too much about it.
I've read the occasional Sunday paper news article about it, and it just puts the fear of God into me. I think they're exaggerated.
Every year there's another scare story about what children are wearing and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, really, I've met some children in their teens, and I have to say, they're much brighter than we ever were.
Yeah.
They're more articulate.
Yeah.
They're more engaged with the world and everything about them. You know, they're environmentally aware. They're so far advanced compared to what we were in those days. So I have no fears for them whatsoever.
God, I'm delighted to hear this. Mine are still a long way to go, but...
no, in 10 years' time, it'll be really bad.
yes, see. Yeah, my 5-year-old's found tattoos. She's got these press-on tattoos, and if it's any indication of the future, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
If she's got that kind of interest.
Today, like, you know, people have these bucket lists.
Yeah.
And apparently tattoo comes out really high up in the list. It's like it's one of the top 10 for everybody.
Do you have any tattoos?
Tattoo. No. I know who I am.
A man I know,
I don't need to.
Just over the weekend, a man I know very well sent me a photograph of his feet, and he has just fulfilled a lifelong ambition of having an L tattooed on his left foot and an R tattooed on his right foot. And he is over the moon. And they're all covered in creepers. They're very artistic.
Yes.
I might post them actually soon.
No, they're great.
You never know.
That's entirely justifiable.
Lovely to see you. Before I ask you about your upcoming tour, I want to know, because I know you did the documentary where you went around the various football grounds.
Oh, yes.
Would you ever cry at a sporting event?
Yeah, I mean, all the time.
Really?
Like, I'm a massive wuss when it comes to any sort of movie or any sort of, like, event that's mediated in some way. I don't really cry in real life. I'm quite stoic in many ways, but at sporting events, I'm gone. I was gone at the weekend. I went to the Ulster match in Lansdowne, and I cried at that. Being an Ulster man myself,
right?
And then I watched the Leinster game on the Sunday, and I cried at that.
You cried as well?
Absolutely bawling. I mean, the tension in the last 4 minutes. You know, like. I have a very severe physical reaction to sport generally.
Yeah, I jump around the place, and I did on Sunday, and I was aware of the fact that people were talking to me, and it took me a while to realise I was still at home.
No, I know, and
I know these people.
My kids are so embarrassed by me at sporting events, like, you know, because I'm a quiet guy generally off the stage, but at the sporting, you know, you just lose it completely, and that's the joy of sport. That's the beauty of it. But at home, if I'm watching rugby or football or anything, and I've got a stake in it, you know, I'm down on the floor, banging the floor, screaming, burying my head in the couch, leaping, you know, causing a fair bit of destruction.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I'm not a none of that, but I don't cry during it for whatever reason. So tell me, you're back on the road. Do you do much touring? Do you do much of it?
Well, you know, I do it kind of all the time. Like, it's not a job in the sense, you know, that it's more a way of life. You know, it's a lifestyle.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, well,
I can't understand how you do it. I know that sounds
no,
bad,
really, no.
Walk on stage, have an hour and a half planned in your mind, never stumble, never run out of things to say.
You're sewing doubts in my head now, Tom. When you put it like that, yes, it seems a bit of a strange lifestyle choice. Yeah. But it's something that you either, you know, you got this bug or whatever it is, this impulse to do this thing, and I realised that I'd be lost without it. I've tried to stop.
Yeah, really.
Over the years, you know, or you know, you get sidetracked by other things, and you leave it for a while, and you think, well, that's all out of the system now. But it isn't. It is really like, it is your lifestyle. It involves like a lot of finding out stuff, which is great fun, you know, as you know, and like there's a great spirit of inquiry around stand-up, you know, so you're always trying to work out your position on stuff, and you're trying to come up with jokes, and you're Googling all day long, so, you know, it's a good way to spend your life. I think most people would agree. It also involves quite a lot of travel, which I really enjoy. I have to say, it's brought me to places I never thought I'd go.
Yeah.
Not just in Ireland, UK, but all over the world, you know. So there's that. You get a nap in the afternoon.
I like this.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I love a good nap.
Right.
Not many jobs provide that.
No, very rare. Very rare.
And then you have the joy of, like, you know, particularly for I think I'm middle-aged now. I hate to have to say that, but in public.
Yeah.
But to be able to vent all your frustrations, and as you know, the frustrations mount over the years.
Amazing.
It is brilliant. So never mind the nerves and all that, which go with it.
Yeah.
I grant you that. It can be nerve-wracking, but to get this opportunity to vent your spleen every night, it's great.
That would be very relaxing for me. I'd like to sound like, I'd be worried though if people say Don has lost it now. It's funny, when you were coming in, I knew people would want to ask. We were talking about the church earlier. People think you must have views on the church. People think you kind of were ahead of the curve in expressing doubts about the church, which have, you know, come home to roost.
Well, I actually, on the last tour I did quite a bit. I probably I'm not going to even mention it. I'm sure people are bored with the whole scandals and all that.
Never ends.
And the cover-ups.
Well, Father Darcy being censored. I mean, that's an edict.
Well, they just never learn. You know, it is so ridiculous. Like, I think you have to separate out the church as an institution, and, you know, particularly the Irish church, which has grown up over the last number of centuries, and, you know, faith and God and all sorts of other stuff. That's a different debate entirely. And I have no problem with that, with people who have faith and who believe in God and all that. That's brilliant. You know, God may well be a delusion, but possibly a very necessary delusion. You know, so I'm totally in favour of that. I have no problem with that. But, you know, you can't run away from the fact that most of us in this country, we're Catholic. And it has a huge influence on us in the way we live. And, you know, and I think people have a very strong sense of right and wrong and stuff like that. So you can't blame the church for everything. Like, it has been okay in many respects. Yeah. But, you know, I had a right go at them last time around. I don't know if I can go there again.
You can't work up the enthusiasm to have another go.
Well, to be honest with you, like, I don't know. I'm kind of just interested in jokes and, you know, just being funny generally. And, you know, sometimes when it gets a bit too issue-based or that, it becomes a bit kind of like a lecture or something, or a bit preachy, or, you know, gratuitously offensive. That's the other thing, you know, which, you know, I'm quite happy to be gratuitously offensive on occasions, but not all the time. Like,
you were in China as well.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very intrigued by this, because you know that there's a possibility they're about to take over Ireland. And they're talking about building
the world.
Sounds like Space Station Houston in the middle of Athlone at the moment. And we all need it. We all need it for Athlone. We hope they do it. But how did you come to doing stand-up over there? I can't imagine.
Well, I guess wherever there's a bunch of people who speak English together, there's going to be a stand-up club at this stage. Stand-up has taken over the world. Never mind the Chinese.
I'm amazed. Yes.
Like, there's a guy I know who's he's an Australian guy who's been promoting shows in the Far East for donkey's years. I remember, like, the first time he ever brought me over, I thought it was a joke. He says, we'll come over to Tokyo for 3 days. Virgin Atlantic will fly you over. We'll put you up in the finest hotel in Tokyo, and we're playing in Pizza Express for 3 nights with a great Aussie comic called Adam Hill. So the two of us did 3 nights in Tokyo. We had a magnificent time. And, like, so every 2 years I get a call from this guy, where are we going now? And so a couple of years ago we went on this magnificent tour to China, the industrial cities of southern China, Shenzhen, Guangzhou.
Are these all expats at the show?
They are. They're mostly British.
Right.
Who are everywhere.
You know.
They are. And then, of course, there's a few Irish tagging along as well, trying to get in the action. And there's a few Americans and you know, there'd be a few Chinese as well, like people who are kind of the fixers and the interpreters.
All right. But they're not the forward advanced legions of the Chinese comedy fans.
Not really, no. But what you do find out is that you're warned, like, not to say anything about the Communist Party, not to say anything derogatory about the leadership or anything, because there will be spies in the audience. You're often told that, like, whether that's just to frighten us or not, I don't know.
That's incredible.
It's a funny society. Like, I mean, I really love for China.
Can you spot a spy?
A few times. You just assume they're all spies.
Always a safe assumption, isn't it?
No, but it's a gung-ho society, and it's, like, very exciting to be there and to have a reason to be there, you know?
Do you think they're going to come and take us over? Because everyone else does, I'll tell you.
I hope so
as well. You're touring a fair few dates. When does it actually start?
Well, starting on Thursday in Dunleary. It's not that bad now. It's more of a kind of a beginner tour.
That's a stand-up a thing always stops me in my tracks. When you see a list of stand-up dates, it just fills the page. We had John Bishop on. He's doing arena tours. I was kind of saying to him, oh God, arena. Do you think that they lend themselves really to stand-up or not?
Not really. I mean, fair play to John. You can't take it away from someone who's offered arena tours. Like, I might have a very different opinion if someone offered me an arena.
I was trying to work out the money,
but the money would be
it has to
obscene.
be six figures, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it'd be insane. But you know, like I can understand from his point of view. I can also sort of understand the audience because it's a big event and it's very exciting. Like, my only experience of it was a few years ago. Liverpool was the European City of Culture, and this Liverpool promoter, who's a good friend of mine, and he promotes all my tours in the UK. He had been doing arena tours with Bill Bailey and Eddie Izzard, so he decided that he was going to get me, Tommy Tiernan and Dylan Moore together, and he was going to put us in the Liverpool arena.
Yeah.
So we went, yeah, of course we'd do it for the hell of it, for the crack. And I really enjoyed it. Like, it was very, very exciting. But you had no connection with the audience,
right.
so I don't understand.
Yeah.
like the way it's gone. Really, like it's far too big.
It's big gestures. Big gestures.
Well, and
it's like a rock band being in a stadium.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
you would imagine the material would have to be really obvious as well. There wouldn't
Yeah.
be much room for subtlety, because apart from anything else, like, and we noticed this when we were on it, like, you have to wait a good second or two for the sound to travel all the way to the back of the venue and all the way back to you again.
yes.
So there's all that. There's a kind of almost a lag, a time lag when you're doing it.
Which is something people normally only talk about when they're in bands.
Yeah.
They get a bounce off the wall at the back.
Yeah. So it's a very odd experience. But I mean, you can get
But
really
if you can master
adrenalized by
it,
it.
you're talking six-figure sums.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's never to be lost sight of.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. So let's not knock it.
No, if it's offered, the answer is yes.
But there's another way of answering that question, and it's to say that, and I'm sure John is the same. Like, every gig is enjoyable, you know, whether it's the International Bar in Dublin in front of 40 people, or whether it's an arena in front of 7,000 people. I mean, the joy is in presenting your material to the public. That
must be one of the hardest. You see, I'm sorry for going on about this, but I just have a vision. Like, you do X Factor on The Voice, and you can make a person stand up and sing. But to make a person
Mining
stand
is
up and
hard.
tell
Burglary
jokes.
is hard.
Mining isn't that hard. It depends where you are. China, it's very hard, I believe. Starts in the pavilion. I'm told, you'll be talking about sex, religion, politics, childhood, and Irishness.
To mention but a few. No, basically it's the biannual State of the Nation, State of the World, but mostly the State of Me,
Right.
sort of address.
Ardal, a pleasure talking to you. It starts this Thursday in the pavilion. It goes all over the country. Letterkenny, Cork, Sligo, Blanchardstown, Navan, Castleblaney, and many, many more.
Yeah.
Lovely talking to you.